Welcome to the deep dive, where we take all that information you're interested in and try to make sense of it.
That's right.
And today we're diving into, this whole UFO thing, all this UAP
Yeah.
stuff. A lot of people talking about it,
Oh, yeah?
a lot of theories flying around.
Lots of theories.
So we're going to look at some excerpts from an interview with Dr. Steven Greer.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard of him. He's a pretty big name in all this.
Oh, yeah. Big name.
And, well, he's making some pretty wild claims. We're talking about government cover-ups and even staged alien events.
Staged alien events. Wow.
He even talks about something called a breakaway civilization.
Now, that's interesting. A breakaway civilization.
Well, right.
And what's really interesting is Greer's been involved in this for a long time.
Yeah, he's not just some random guy.
No, not at all. He's been researching this for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Claims to have actually briefed some very high-level officials.
So, I mean, that's what makes this so intriguing.
It does.
Is he a genuine whistleblower, or has he just gone, too far down the rabbit hole?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Exactly. Is he a truth teller?
Well,
or
yeah.
has he gone off the deep end?
Because some of what he's saying is pretty out there.
Yeah, it does sound like a science fiction movie.
Right.
Sure.
But let's start with Greer himself. Who is this guy?
Well, he's been in this field since the early 90s.
Okay.
He founded this organization called CSETI, the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Catchy name.
It is.
So what does CSETI do?
Well, he claims to have had contact with extraterrestrials himself.
Really?
And his whole thing is peaceful contact.
Okay.
Advocating for full disclosure from governments about what they know about UFOs.
He's not shy about it.
No, not at all.
Now, what about this other person in the interview with him?
Yeah.
Did we know who it is?
It's not entirely clear. They could be the host or another guest.
Okay.
But they also have some interesting stories. Yeah, particularly one about their father being approached to join some secret project.
Oh, wow.
And he was just in high school at the time.
That's kind of creepy.
It is a little creepy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine you're in high school and some government agency wants to recruit you for a secret project.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what their criteria was.
It does. And it kind of ties into one of Greer's main claims.
Which is?
This big disclosure is just around the corner. He even mentions a 75-year plan.
Hold on. A 75-year plan for what?
To stage an alien hoax?
A 75-year plan to stage an alien hoax?
Yes.
So what is he saying exactly?
Okay, so he believes this plan. He thinks it comes from Wernher von Braun.
The rocket scientist.
The rocket scientist. And it involves basically indoctrinating the public slowly, over time, making us believe in a hostile alien threat.
So it's like propaganda.
It is like propaganda.
And how would they do that?
Staged events, manipulating the media,
Mm-hmm.
even using advanced technology to create fake UFO sightings.
Okay, I gotta ask. Von Braun, he was like a hero of the space race.
He was.
Why would he be involved in something like this?
Well, Greer claims that before von Braun died, he warned about this plan.
Really?
Yeah. He supposedly told his spokesperson, Dr. Carol Rosin, that powerful forces would use this fake alien threat to basically control the world.
Okay, to what end? What would be the point?
Well, they could justify increasing military spending, creating a global surveillance state, all in the name of protecting us from this alien threat.
So it's all about control.
It is about control.
Creating an enemy, even if it's fake, to justify all sorts of things.
Exactly. And that's where Greer really starts to get into some pretty dark territory.
Oh.
He's saying that a lot of what we're seeing, especially these strange objects over military bases, aren't alien spacecraft at all.
What are they then?
He claims they're clandestine anti-gravity aircraft.
So our own secret technology.
Our own technology.
But why scare us with it? What would be the point?
Control, like we said.
Control.
You create a common enemy, people are afraid, they're more willing to give up their freedoms for security. Like, think about the war on terror. How much surveillance and intervention did we accept because of that?
So he's saying they're using the same playbook, but with aliens instead of terrorists.
That's exactly what he's saying.
Wow. But wait, how would they even have this kind of technology to fake these UFO sightings?
Well, now we get to the really controversial part. Greer says they're using technology reverse-engineered from actual crashed UFOs.
So he's claiming the government has alien technology.
He is. He even says he briefed the CIA director about this back in the 90s.
Wow.
But he claims the information was being kept from the president.
Okay, so we've got government cover-up, secret technologies, staged events, This is getting pretty wild. But who are the people behind all of this?
Well, Greer talks about a breakaway civilization, basically a group of scientists, engineers, high-level officials who are operating with knowledge and technology way beyond what we know.
A breakaway civilization? That's a pretty big claim. Is there any evidence to support this?
He doesn't give a lot of concrete evidence in this interview, but he does share some anecdotes.
Like what?
Remember that story about the other speaker's father being approached to join a secret project in high school?
Yeah.
He suggests that's evidence of this breakaway civilization recruiting talented people from a young age.
Like some kind of, I don't know, secret society.
Kind of.
But why would they need to recruit people? What are they doing with this advanced technology?
Well, this is where things get even weirder. Greer claims that the real power players aren't even dealing with aliens from other planets.
They're not.
He says they're interacting with beings from other dimensions.
Okay, so now we're going from secret government projects to interdimensional beings. This is a lot to take in.
It is. But Greer is adamant that this is the real story. He says the actual extraterrestrials are peaceful and actually worried about us, about our hostility, especially our nuclear weapons.
Really? Why would they be worried about our nukes?
He says they have interdimensional consequences. But he says the people in this breakaway civilization, they're not interested in peace. They're interested in power.
So they're using these interdimensional beings for their own agenda.
That's what he's saying.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We have peaceful aliens, interdimensional beings, a secret breakaway civilization, and a 75-year plan to stage a fake alien invasion. Am I missing anything?
Well, I think that's the gist of it.
Wow. What do you make of all this? Is there any truth to any of it?
Honestly, it's hard to say. His claims are extraordinary, and he doesn't really provide much concrete evidence in this interview. But he's been saying this for years, and there are some aspects that make you think.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of powerful people manipulating events for their own gain, it's not exactly a new concept.
No, it's not.
And the thought of them faking an alien invasion to do it, it's unsettling, to say the least.
It is. So, we've laid out the basics of his claims. A staged invasion, advanced technology, maybe from crashed UFOs, all orchestrated by this shadowy group. But now we have to go deeper. What specific events does he use as proof? What would their motives be?
Right, because if he's right, the implications are huge.
Absolutely.
We'll explore all of that and more when we continue our deep dive right after this. All right, so we left off talking about this whole staged alien invasion idea orchestrated by this breakaway civilization.
Right.
It's pretty wild stuff, but I gotta know, what evidence does Greer use to back this up?
Yeah, you'd think there'd have to be some pretty solid proof.
Right. It can't all be just theories.
Well, a lot of his claims are based on anecdotal evidence
Okay.
and how he interprets events.
Mm-hmm.
But he does point to some specific examples.
Okay.
Like what? For instance, the Cash Landrum incident back in the 80s.
The Cash Landrum incident, remind me, what was that?
It was a pretty famous UFO case in
right.
Texas.
Right.
Betty Cash, Vicki Landrum, and her grandson Colby were driving home, and they claimed they encountered this diamond-shaped object hovering over the road. They said it was giving off intense heat.
Really?
And making this roaring sound.
Wow.
And afterwards, all three of them had health problems.
Like what?
Radiation burns.
Oh, wow.
It became a big UFO story.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing something about that. So what does Greer say about it?
Well, he doesn't think it was an actual alien craft.
He doesn't.
No.
What does he think it was then?
He believes it was staged.
Staged.
Using technology reverse engineered from a crashed extraterrestrial craft.
So, like, they took alien tech and made it look like a UFO?
That's what he's saying.
Well, why?
He claims the object wasn't a real alien ship, but actually a man-made plutonium power plant.
A power plant.
Yeah.
Dressed up to look like a UFO.
Exactly, encased in the shell of a recovered craft.
Why would they do that?
Greer says it's all part of this bigger plan to condition the public.
Condition us how?
To slowly get us used to the idea of extraterrestrial contact.
So like a slow drip of information.
Right, leading up to something bigger.
But wouldn't these incidents with people getting hurt, like the Cash Landrum case, wouldn't that cause panic?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
I mean, wouldn't that blow their whole cover?
Well, Greer doesn't really address that directly.
Okay.
But I guess his argument would be that these events are carefully controlled.
Controlled how?
They happen in isolated places.
Right.
The authorities can easily dismiss them as hoaxes or just people misidentifying things.
Okay.
Plus, he suggests this breakaway civilization has really advanced technology.
Okay.
Maybe even tech that can manipulate people's perceptions,
Wow.
even their memories.
So it could make it harder to prove what they saw.
Exact.
So it's a risky plan, but I guess not impossible.
Right.
But what about this fake alien landing Greer talks about?
Yeah, that one's hard to swallow.
It seems pretty far-fetched even for a conspiracy theory.
I agree.
How could they pull that off?
Well, he connects it to those recent UAP sightings
Okay.
and those videos the Pentagon released.
Yeah.
Right?
He thinks it's all part of this plan
To what end?
to get the public used to the idea of UFOs before they stage this big event.
So they're using real UAP sightings, whatever they are, as cover for their fake event,
That's his theory.
assuming they can control what people see and report.
Yeah.
But how would they fake an alien landing on a global scale?
He doesn't really explain that, but he says they have this super advanced technology,
Like what?
maybe holographic projections or something even more advanced.
Okay, let's say for a minute that he's right.
All right.
What would they gain from all of this, from faking an alien invasion?
He says it's about control.
Control.
By creating this huge threat, a common enemy.
Okay.
They can unify the world under a single banner, increase military spending, erode civil liberties in the name of security.
It's like that problem reaction solution thing.
Exactly.
Create a problem.
The alien threat.
Get a reaction.
Fear and panic.
And offer a
A
solution.
more powerful global government. Right, and this alien threat would be like the ultimate problem.
Yes, one that goes beyond borders and ideologies.
It's a pretty scary thought.
It is.
But if this breakaway civilization already has all this advanced tech, why even bother with the charade?
That's a good question.
Couldn't they just take over directly?
Well, Greer says they need a justification.
An excuse.
They need the public to believe that this is necessary for the good of humanity.
And what better way than to make us think aliens are attacking?
Right.
But isn't there a chance this could backfire?
How so?
What if people figure out it's a hoax?
Well, that's certainly possible. And Greer admits there are people trying to expose this plan.
Like himself.
Right.
But he also says this breakaway civilization has ways of controlling information.
And manipulating perception.
So they could discredit anyone who speaks out against them.
Exactly. Make them look crazy.
So even if there was proof, people might not believe it.
That's a possibility.
It's kind of a depressing thought. But if all this is leading up to this big event, what can we do about it?
That's a tough question.
Is there any way to stop it?
Well, Greer doesn't really give us an answer in this interview.
Okay.
But I think his hope is that by making people aware of this plan, by getting them to question things,
Yeah.
it'll be harder to pull off this deception.
So knowledge is power.
In a way, yes.
The more people know about it, the less likely it is to work.
Maybe.
But isn't there a risk that talking about it could make things worse? By spreading these theories?
Yeah.
Creating more fear?
It's a difficult balance.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
But, you know, even if Greer's wrong about this specific plan, I think his overall message is important.
What do you mean?
He's saying we need to be critical thinkers. We can't just accept what we're told.
Especially when it comes to something as big as alien contact.
Exactly. We need to question things, do our own research, and come to our own conclusions.
And that's something we should all be doing no matter what the topic is.
Well said.
Whether it's UFOs or politics or anything else, we should be critical of the information we consume.
Absolutely. That's a great takeaway for our listeners.
I think so.
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something Greer mentioned.
Okay.
Something that adds a whole other layer of strangeness to this.
You mean his claims about the occult and interdimensional beings?
Exactly. He talked about NASA being founded by occultists.
Right.
And these secret societies communicating with entities from other dimensions.
It does sound pretty X-Files.
It does.
But it raises some interesting questions.
For sure. So what does he mean by the occult, and how does it tie into UFOs?
Well, he uses occult to refer to this hidden knowledge.
Okay.
Often associated with secret societies and esoteric practices.
The secret rituals and things like that.
Right, and he claims these groups have known about extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings for a long time.
Really?
And they're using this knowledge for their own purposes.
So he's saying there's this ancient wisdom passed down through those societies.
Right, and it holds the key to understanding UFOs.
Okay, and how does NASA fit into this?
Well, he claims NASA was founded by occultists.
Wow.
He specifically mentions Jack Parsons,
Who was that?
one of the founders of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL.
Okay.
But he was also a member of this mystical order called the Ordo Templi Orientis,
Oh, what?
the OTO,
Okay.
which was associated with Aleister Crowley.
So even if NASA was founded by people interested in the occult, does that automatically mean they were talking to aliens?
That's where things get more speculative.
Okay.
Greer suggests that these occultists weren't just aware of these beings, they were actively trying to contact them.
Through rituals and stuff.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And he says the government has suppressed this knowledge because it threatens their power.
So it's like a battle between those who want to keep this hidden and those who want to reveal it.
That's one way to look at it.
It's a compelling story, but how do you prove or disprove something like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation involved.
Right, and the occult itself is a complex thing.
Exactly. It's not necessarily evil or sinister.
It's got a long history.
And it includes a lot of different beliefs and practices.
I guess like anything, there are good and bad actors.
For sure.
But this whole occult connection does add another layer of mystery to this.
Definitely. And it's something each listener will have to decide for themselves.
Do you believe there's this hidden knowledge being kept from us?
Yeah. Do you think there's a link between UFOs and the occult?
These are big questions.
They are.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've gone through Greer's claims about staged events, a breakaway civilization, even the occult.
It's a lot to take in.
But it's all very fascinating.
Definitely.
And I'm sure our listeners have a lot to think about.
We've just scratched the surface of this topic.
Sure.
But hopefully we've given everyone some things to consider.
Absolutely.
And encouraged our listeners to be critical thinkers.
That's so important.
To question what they hear and see.
Yes. No matter what the subject is.
Exactly.
Well said.
We've only got one more part of this deep dive left.
And we'll really get to the heart of it.
The implications of all of this, if Greer is right.
What does it mean for humanity?
It's a big question.
And we'll explore it all in our final part. Okay. So we've spent the last two parts going through Dr. Greer's claims, staged events, this breakaway civilization, even the occult. It's a lot to process.
It is a lot.
But now I think we have to talk about the big question.
What's that?
What if he's right?
You mean about the staged alien invasion?
Yeah. What would that mean for us, for humanity?
Well, the implications are huge, and not in a good way. I mean, it would change everything.
Everything.
How we see the universe, our place in it, even the nature of reality would turn everything upside down.
And just on a practical level, think about the chaos.
Oh, absolutely.
If people really believed aliens were invading, even if it was fake.
It would be mass hysteria.
Total breakdown of society.
People would panic. There could be violence, looting, all kinds of things. It would be a nightmare.
And then you've got governments using the situation to grab even more power.
Right. That's exactly what Greer's warning about, this global police state where they take away our freedoms to protect us from this fake threat.
Surveillance, censorship, cracking down on anyone who disagrees. It's like something out of a dystopian novel.
Exactly. A total loss of freedom.
And what about the long-term impact? What would that do to our culture, our society, our future?
It's hard to say for sure, but it wouldn't be good. I mean, imagine a world where nobody trusts anyone, everyone's paranoid, always waiting for the next attack.
Always looking over your shoulder.
Right. And what about science technology?
Yeah.
If it turns out this advanced tech they're using is from crashed UFOs.
That would be a game changer.
Completely.
Yeah.
Our whole understanding of physics, engineering, everything would be rewritten.
It'd be like discovering fire all over again.
But instead of bringing us together, it could be used to control us.
Yeah, a lot of power in the wrong hands. So even if all this is true, can we do anything about it? Can we fight back against something this big?
That's a good question. Greer doesn't really offer any solutions.
So what can we do?
I think the first step is awareness, like we're doing now. Talking about it, getting people thinking.
But how do we do that without sounding crazy?
We have to be smart about it. Present the information in a way that's believable, that makes people think critically.
Make them question what they're being told, look for different perspectives.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, if enough people start asking questions, demanding answers.
We can disrupt this whole plan, expose the truth.
Prevent this dystopian future from happening.
It's a long shot, but I think it's worth trying.
Definitely. Because if we lose our freedom, our right to think for ourselves, we've lost everything.
Absolutely. So, this whole deep dive has been pretty intense.
It has.
But I think there's a message of hope in it, too.
Hope?
Hope that we can be smarter than this. That we can see through the manipulation, the fear-mongering.
That we can choose truth over deception.
Exactly. So, listeners, as you go about your day, keep questioning, keep exploring, keep searching for the truth.
And remember, the best way to fight back against lies is to think for yourself.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, stay curious.